My name is Erika Kelley. I have been the external reporting controller here at Intel for the last 4 years. And prior to that, let's see, I guess I've been with Intel for about 7 years and was PwC before that. And really excited to share, kind of come back and share the next phase of our integrated reporting story.
Hi everyone, I'm Katie Stipic and I'm a manager on the external reporting team. I've been at Intel for 4 years. I was at Deloitte previously. I've been on the ER team for 2 years, and my primary role, job one, is to make sure we facilitate the filing of the 10Qs and Ks. Obviously, many of you on this call know how much work goes into all of that, from working with the auditors to planning and working internally. So we're definitely really excited to be sharing some of the work that we did for the 2018 filing with you today.
All right, so we have just a little bit of prepared materials. We'll go ahead and start with this one slide. And this really is to kind of kick off the discussion of the journey that we've been on. I'd say it's really been a 3-year journey. We're in the 4th year now. And in 2016, we really started exploring how can we go and embrace this concept of disclosure effectiveness. So in 2016, we scrubbed the report. We looked for ways that we can streamline information, the ways that we can put it in an order that just makes it a lot more accessible and readable and kind of tells our story better. Now, we started that process in, I believe, September of 2016. So we really tackled what I call the low-hanging fruit. In 2017 is when we really had the time to take a step back and think about how would we go and tell our story if we were starting from a blank piece of paper. So many of us follow kind of the SEC form instructions and sections, and that doesn't necessarily provide a flow that makes sense and makes this information readable in the way most specific to Intel. Other companies would have different orders, but we really looked at the report comprehensively and worked closely with a cross-functional team, including legal, our investor relations group, our sustainability reporting group, and our people who work on the proxy as well, and said, what are the key elements to our story as Intel? And really found those things that are similar across the 3 reports and said, great, this is going to be kind of the core piece of our integrated story. And we're going to use those across our annual report, our proxy statement, and our sustainability reporting. And we'll go through a couple examples of those here in just a minute. But that's really our approach to integrated reporting. We don't have one combined integrated report, but we have a very consistent message that crosses the 3 documents. And really also ties in directly to, when our CEO and our CFO are out talking about the company. It's one story, and we use different lenses to go and tell that story. 2018, working off of the progress that we'd made in 2017, we really said, okay, what else do we want to tackle? What do we feel didn't totally come through in our 2017 report? And the main focus we had there was the introduction of a capital section. That's really going to be the focus of today's conversation because we kind of talked about the journey a little bit last time we were here. If you want to start flipping through the report, I think we can kind of show you a couple examples of kind of the integrated part of our reporting, and then Katie will take us through the capital section, which was new in 2018.
Yeah, so I switched over to our annual report, which you can find on intc.com if you want to look at this a little bit more after this session. This is really just, kicking off the conversation within our filing. And as Erika mentioned, it's really one of the main areas that we integrate across our reports, from our 10K to our proxy to our CSR, so that investors and readers of the filings can see what our top priorities are, what our KPIs are, and then how we did against those in that year. We also have a quote from our CEO and really describing how the year went. And then just below that on the next page, we continue the conversation with listing out the important events for the year, including some images. We have a new CEO that was appointed, that was highlighted, among other things for the year.
One of the really great things about one of the benefits we've seen from this shift is it's really communicating our message so much more succinctly in the voice of management. So management feels like they have a much stronger presence in the report. Everything from the quotes to the pictures to really the, keeping in line with key messages.
Yeah, and we won't be showing it here today, but we also have a section on each of our BU segments. So that's been a great area for the various leaders of our segments, CCG, DCG, et cetera, to be able to get their message to investors. So not just us in the external reporting team and accounting world deciding how they want to speak about their business, but really partnering with them throughout the year to decide what that messaging will be for investors. So, this becomes a more valuable document for users. Okay, and then so from there we go into our strategy, and this is again something that we integrate across the reports. So I want to skip to a few pages down where we go essentially from how we did for the year, our strategy, highlight of our BUs and our products into our capital section. And so this is the main change that we had for the 2018 10K filing. And I'm just going to zoom in a little bit now that we're here so you guys can all see, hopefully well enough. And Mary, just speak up if you guys can't see very well. But this is a section that we wanted to add to really further our integration across the reports and to bring in more of an integrated mindset into our filing. So the way that we did that was to include the integrated capital framework in 2018. This is the introduction page that we have in our 10K filing. I'll be scrolling through it. After this summary page and introduction to the capital section, we have a page for each of the 6 capitals, as well as a final conclusion page to show why this all matters, which is essentially showing the value creation over time and how each of the capitals contributes to that.
One of the guiding principles that we really followed when putting this content together is, our 10K, our annual report, is not meant to provide any new information. It's really information that's already been put out there or would be put out there in a different venue. So as we look through this, a vast majority of this was already somewhere in our annual report. It's really being repackaged in a way that kind of tells that holistic capital story. And that's really one of the biggest benefits we've seen coming out of it this year.
Yeah, and how we presented it to management, this idea of including this in our filing, was really that, as Erika said, we had a lot of this information spread about our report, but we didn't show how they work together. And so it was really creating that thread that obviously ties all the capitals together and shows how they work together toward value creation. And there was a lot of excitement around that, again, really telling our message in the way that management thinks about it. So we worked with an internal designer to create the icon that you see that we really used as an image to explain what this all means and why it matters. And we have commentary on that as well. You can see there's lots of text in addition to the graphic, but it really helps to tell the message for the users, especially given that this is a new section for this year. So again, showing all the capitals on a level playing field with equal importance. And when we kicked off the project to begin adding this section, one of the main things that we did, we took the approach of what we had in the prior 2 years and kind of built on it. So as Erika was mentioning, we worked over time to really work more with the groups that oversee corporate responsibility reporting and the proxy reporting. So we took the same approach for this section. So I worked with individuals from those groups as well as other subject matter experts in order to, kind of get everyone together, explain the idea, assign ownership, and then, as an ER team, we were really project managing this to get to the end result of having this new section in our document, but, making sure that we had contributors from the people that have the most underlying information about these subjects. Okay, so on our introduction page that we have, just scrolling down a bit so you can see the entire thing, we created a table just to essentially summarize what each of the 6 capitals are, essentially giving some examples of what they are for Intel, what our strategy is for using them, and how they create value. This is really the highest level view of the capital section. And, we also introduced icons, which you can see over to the left. Those are the same as what's in the infographic above. And it's, really being able to assign that concept to an image that we could then use throughout the rest of the section. So then you'll see, just going into the first capital that we present in detail is financial capital. And you'll see that icon again. And this is where we would lay out our the 3 priorities that we have for capital allocation, and then describe that in some detail. This is very similar to what we had in the 2018 10K filing. 2017 filing. We've moved on to planning for 19, so sometimes that happens. Thanks, Erika. The second capital that we introduced is the intellectual capital. This is one where there was a lot of new information introduced for the 10K, not things that our company hadn't talked about publicly, but really providing more information within this document. So we had previously talked a bit about our R&D efforts and our IP rights and defending those, but we introduced more information about our product technology and how that builds our intellectual capital over time.
For a technology company, this is the section that I kind of was most proud of and really felt, brings one of our most valued assets front and center. We're really putting this right behind financial capital, because without intellectual capital, Intel's nothing. And it ties directly into some of the other messaging we do as a company on that technology front. So we heavily leveraged, I believe it was called our Technology Day, put on by the technology leaders in the company, using something that they had recently rolled out directly in this report.
Our next capital we present is manufactured capital. Something, again, that's unique about Intel is that we have a lot of in-house manufacturing. So really walking through that and our process technology for manufacturing, as well as including a map of our presence throughout the globe. And again, worked with an internal designer that we have, the same one as mentioned previously, to create this map. So our next 3 capitals are more in the space of corporate responsibility, or more traditionally corporate responsibility reporting. So this is where I really partnered with that team to ensure that we were going to have similar messaging here as what they would have in the corporate social responsibility report that's only issued a few months later. And this is where we had included a lot of information on this in the prior year 10K in 2017, but this was where we really wanted to speak more to it and give more information, again, more of an opportunity for our management to talk about the great things that we're doing for our employees and diverse workplace, and to give back to the community. So we certainly had information on this front in previous filings, but this really amplified it to give more space to it. So here we talk about human capital, talking about our employees, as I was mentioning, our diversity and inclusion achievements. That then goes into social and relationship capital, really talking about our impact on the local economies that we exist in, our employees giving back and how our company encourages that, and then also our supply chain responsibility efforts, which it was really exciting to be able to explain all of these items in more detail. The final capital is natural capital, and this is an area, that we've been working on understanding even more what investors are looking for, because, the impact on climate, we know is a hot topic. We're looking into TCFD. We're trying to understand, how we can improve this. But certainly in 2018, we took a step to include more information from the CSR and more commentary in the 10K than you would, see in a lot of other companies. So finally, as I mentioned, we conclude the section with the title is Stockholder Return, but it's essentially that value creation and kind of the so what of why we are investing all these capitals and spending time telling investors about how important they are to our business. In 2018, we landed on including our stock performance graph, which probably you guys know is a requirement to include in a 10K filing. I will say that while this is helpful, and it's definitely one area that we look at for value creation and, over time what that turns into, we definitely look at value and our impact on for investors more holistically than that. And this is an area that we have some exciting thoughts about this year as far as presenting some additional information on how we create value. So we're happy with where this landed and think that it has a good message for investors, but this is one of the areas that this is one of the areas that we're looking at for like benchmarking and providing more information this coming year.
So I think, as we really tie it together, it was an exciting area to go and add for the 2018 report. There were certain things that, certain parameters that we obviously have to live within, which is, this is something that gets filed with the SEC. Auditors go and review this. It's not the audited section of the financial, but they obviously take a pretty close look. Timing was another thing, very much having to think through what information is available, especially like on some of that environmental reporting stuff that might be available for the April or May issuance of the sustainability report, but not in time for our February 1st filing of the 10K. I think this year looking at some opportunities to expand on those areas as well. So I think with that, we can kick it over to questions.